Well, Ice-T making his way out of the studio, and coming into the studio any minute, it should be, will be Taylor and Ben from the Pretty Reckless. Do we know if they are in the building? Do we know? We have any confirmation about them being in the building?
I do not, but I would
down
imagine...
there wrangling?
I would imagine think? Eric is wrangling.
All right, that's good, because I want to make sure we get as much time as we can before we got to wrap up here in an hour. That was fun talking Ice-T, man. What a trip. He was... He was saying some funny shit just now during the commercial break as we were taking a few photos, which we'll all be posting on our various outlets soon. But what a good guy! What a big rock fan, metal fan. I mean, who knew that Black Sabbath, Behind the Wall of Sleep from 1970, Bill Ward's drum groove was the basis for some hip hop inspiration. It's incredible when you think about all the rock and metal acts that have crossed over and touched into that world and impacted that world as well. Very, very cool talking to him, and I could easily do a full show with him. We were just getting warmed up, but it's a busy show, kind of double booked here with guests, and we're going to talk to Taylor and Ben in a matter of minutes. As a matter of fact, they're walking in right now. There they are. Look at these guys. What's up, Ben? Good to see you. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Come on over here.
All right.
We're live on the air. We're going to throw you right into the... Where's the family? I thought there was like a whole...
Statue of Liberty. You got beat for the Statue of Liberty.
Oh,
that's actually not why. I'll tell you why.
I thought Taylor said your parents were coming, and they were all excited to see their son do some radio.
I went out with them the other night, and I got to tell you, just like they embarrass you in high school, that can continue into older age. So,
where do your parents live?
They live in Maine.
Okay, so they came to see you guys before you went off on tour?
No, they were down here on a vacation, and it just happened to be that I was in town, so I have no obligations, but I tried.
The Eddie Trunk Show could not pull them away from the Statue of Liberty. Son of a bitch. I thought I had some juice.
I wouldn't let them.
After 34 years, that's all I get? Come on. I was looking forward to meeting the Phillips when Taylor told me. Anyway, good to see you guys. Thank you for coming in.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, I know. It's been, well, you came through, you were doing the rounds here for when the record first came out, I know, and we said hi real quick, but you were, I think you'd just come back from Europe or something at that point.
Sure.
If you say so.
Yeah,
in all honesty.
You definitely had come through at that point, and we said hello. Record's been out a little while and doing well. Everybody's happy?
Everybody's happy.
Yes, everybody seems to be happy. Yeah.
And now you're getting ready for another big tour, right? Getting ready to head out.
We are.
Start tomorrow?
We leave tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah,
tonight.
Right. We're doing your show and then cruising on off to Boston.
Picking up the bus in Jersey.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I've told Taylor this story when we first met, actually, a number of years ago, is that the very, very first time I saw the band was you guys were opening for Marilyn Manson in New Jersey. So that's got to be first record, right? Taylor always laughs about that. I'm not going to embarrass you with the story again, because I know that's an embarrassing story.
It was a tough show.
It was a brutal show, yeah.
I thought it was fine, but I'll never forget when I met you the first time. You're like, you were there, I knew you were there, and it was not a good show.
It was a brutal one, yeah.
What was it like being on tour with Manson, though, beyond that show? Was it a good experience?
It was certainly a learning experience, I think. It was a lot of fun, though.
The front of it was tough, because I don't think an audience was expecting our band.
At all.
But by the time we became friends with him, or you in particular... Yeah. Then it became a really great time. And by the end of it,
it was like, well, what? This is over. This is the last show. Let's keep doing this.
It was one of those. It was a grower.
That's deep water to be pulled into, though, in the early touring of a band.
Yes,
because I've spent some hours with him in his lair just on one night after a show. So I can't imagine being on tour in the cold, dark room and the iPod and shuffle and what goes on. The fact that you're still standing to talk about it is pretty amazing in and of itself. But
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Did the crowds come around?
They did. Towards the end. I think in the very beginning, everyone was a little surprised that we were the band opening for Manson.
I think we were surprised.
We were too. So I think as the tour went on, we became a little more comfortable, and therefore I think relaxed into it a little bit more, and the fans felt that and were a little more reciprocal. What's the right word?
Sure.
Whatever.
Basically,
one of those words.
Not throwing shit at you, basically.
Exactly. I think there was only one bottle thrown, so it's fine.
Did people physically? Did you ever go into situations where you had people actually throwing stuff at you?
No, not Manson. No.
But on any tours?
A lot of bras, yeah.
bras?
Good
Yeah,
things.
Good
that's
things.
a good thing.
Okay.
Good things.
All right, but nothing trying to harm you
No.
in any way. How did you guys? I mean, you guys have created quite a partnership here as far as writers and with the Pretty Reckless and the band. How did you guys first meet, Ben? We're talking to Ben Phillips and Taylor Momsen from the Pretty Reckless. They just walked in and we're just hanging out, getting right into it. But where did you first develop this partnership from?
Well, I was a failed musician, and
In what way? You had a couple bands that didn't happen?
A lot of people will talk about why I was a failed musician. I have personality disorders, but I was writing songs, and I kind of for with a friend of mine named Cato, who was a producer. So he was making all these records with bands, and he would call me for songs, and I kind of stopped doing it. I wasn't into writing for other people kind of thing. And then he met her and he said, you have to meet this girl. She's well better than what you're assuming anything is. And I was like, oh,
especially at that age, because how old are you? You're probably in your teens, right?
Yeah, like
14.
14.
Yeah.
14, right? So you're like, yeah, I'm going to meet a 14-year-old girl. And do it
I
there.
was super not. I was like, I don't want.
He was not
like,
into it.
And Cato was like, no. Just trust me on that. I know you're not going to get. I was living in Harlem. And he's like, I know you're not going to get. You're not going to leave your little lair in Harlem, to use lair, and come down and meet this girl. But I'm telling you, she's really, really good. And she's heard your band. He had played something he'd done with me.
Your failed band.
Well, one of my failed things. And she was like, well, I like that. Who's that? Like, let's.
Well, you were
what's
playing-
that
you
guy
were playing with
doing?
Mark and
She was
Jamie.
looking to form a band.
Well,
And
because
she-
I was a singer-songwriter and I didn't want to do it myself, because as the phrase goes that I've said many, many times is, who wants to be Elvis when you can be the Beatles? Like, who wants to do this by yourself? I want a family around
Which
you.
is kind of a stolen Beatles. Taylor's a big
It is.
Beatles.
It's obviously a huge Beatles fan.
where they
but
said
it's
that Elvis
it's a
looked so
quote.
lonely up there, and they got to do it together. But anyway, so he talked me into it, and I went down and I guess we met first, and then we went to the studio and
I
just
played you some stuff.
you had a song that you'd half written, and I kind of finished it. And then we went in and did it, and she walked up to me. I hadn't heard her sing yet. I hadn't heard you sing. And we just did a song.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the control room, and Taylor goes and sings, and I turn to Ken, I'm like, she's great. And he was like, yeah, I told you, this is why you're here, and whatever. And so then she kind of maneuvered things to put it together as a band. So she took guys I'd played with, and
Yeah, basically,
and
I
whatever.
basically went, hey, I'm writing your songs, and I'm your new singer.
Yeah, I'm your new
and,
singer.
Here, you're not saying no to this.
I say no. And then
almost 10 years later, here we are.
and 10 years later, and it still is working.
So so Taylor, at 14, you had a song. You had written some stuff already musically.
I had written lots of stuff. I had
Tell them the story.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a long story, but I mean, I had an entire record done and basically greenlit by Interscope Records. And,
As a solo artist?
as a solo artist, and I scrapped it because I was not. It wasn't the direction that I actually wanted to go into.
Was it pop or what was it?
It was edgy pop rock, I guess. Is
Well,
what
you had
call
written
I don't
it,
know.
but you wrote it, but the
But I'd written it with
musicians were more pop oriented.
pop oriented
Yes.
production.
And it was done, like done.
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 And
Wow.
I scrapped that record. That didn't bode well for my then relationship with Interscope. They weren't so psyched about that. And so basically, I killed that record and said,
And it
I'm
never
forming
came
this
out?
band. Never came out.
Oh, were
I think
you-
some of it got leaked online, like songs here and there, but not stuff that we're ever going to play. I
But
mean, it's
before you
very-
go forward on this story, because it's fascinating, were you able to, when you said you weren't going to do, like basically what did you say? You wanted it scrapped, or did you have a lawyer come in and say, how do you put the kill sign on
kibosh
it?
on it.
Yeah, how did you do it?
I went, well,
I was there.
Yeah,
Do
you were
want-
there at
want
this point. Do you
better-
wanna- yeah,
better
you're
part of
gonna
the story? Taylor has
You
great.
sick Ben after him.
Well, Taylor,
Yeah.
Taylor has a really good team behind her who all kind of believe in her in the same way as that she kind of has this vision thing. So she calls up her managers and says, "Listen, I'm
not
starting a
doing
band.
this."
I'm not doing this. So I'm starting a band, and I'll let you know when that's together and something." And so,
but you got to help
and that
me
was
get
it.
rid of this.
So her managers
Make this go away.
Make this go away.
Her managers, as they often do, made it go away.
They made it go away.
And
Mostly.
they mostly made it go away, and then we spent the next year and a half making a record and putting this band together. And then the first record kind of came out in America, kind of
didn't,
but did well around the world. So it kind of.
So we spent a lot of time overseas on the first record, and then with the second record going to hell, we signed with a new label, and
I think I don't know how that would happen.
We're not exactly sure I don't know what I'm actually legally allowed to say either. So there's some gray lines there, but we it's the first time I've talked about this, so I'm not actually sure what I'm allowed to say.
Well, okay, all right. Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I find it fascinating that this
it's a good story because the other day Sheryl Crow was on Stern, or we heard a repeat of it or something, and she was talking about how she had this record that I think she did with Hugh Padgham or whatever, a big expensive A&M record, and she ditched it. And I was like,
$450,000.
And I was like, that you did the exact same thing, and nobody knows that. No, you've never told these stories.
No.
There are artists that have that, like I don't know if you guys know this, that Bryan Adams, before like Cuts Like a Knife and all that stuff, he had a record that was a dance record.
I did not know
that. I didn't know that either.
I'm filled with useless information.
I did not know that, but I used to like Bob Clearmountain a lot.
Bob Clearmountain's amazing as a producer.
And so
he makes the best sounding records.
I thought I was familiar with Bryan Adams.
But this is like, but he wasn't able to put the full kibosh on it like Taylor and her team was, because it came out, and not only did it come out, it became a hit. It became a hit in certain circles as in the dance community. And I grew up working in a record store, so we would have people come in, and these DJs would come in, and they'd ask for this Bryan Adams dance record, and we would be like, "What?" When we could only get it on import. It was on A&M Records, but we could only get it on import. But we would sell it for like $15 for a single, because people would come in and get it. The song is called "Let Me Take You Dancing." His vocal is sped up. He sounds like Mickey Mouse. It's really sped up.
Right.
And it was a big... Taylor's like, yeah, they do that to you too, Taylor?
Well, they didn't, but my voice has obviously changed since I was 14, so I listen to the old stuff, and I sound like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of... But, Taylor, your story, I mean, and I've mentioned this, I think it's incredible that you had such a vision for what you wanted to do with this band and do a band, coming out of acting, coming out of all the things, to hang your hat. Ice-T was just in here a few minutes ago, and Ice-T was talking about, he's got his band Body Count, and he was talking about, he's in Law and Order, and he's been doing it for however long, and he said, he goes, music sure as hell ain't paid a motherfucking bills. Law and Order is, he just said that.
We saw him on the way out. He basically said the same thing.
And I'm a big fan of him, and he basically said the same thing to me.
He told a funny story about how his guitar player was, the IRS came after him at the taxes or something, and the IRS was like, this sure as hell ain't paying your guitar players, being in Body Count, that you actually just let it go. But, it's especially in today's music industry, I mean, it takes a lot of stones to turn your back on all that stuff and say, I'm going to do a band, and then go one step further. You got a big solo deal with Interscope, a major label, and then say, no, I ain't doing that either. I mean, where does that come from in you? How is that that you're so confident that, no, this is how it's got to be?
I think it came from, I've been in the entertainment industry in one way or the other since I was so young, that I've been put into situations that I didn't necessarily have control over, and music to me is so personal and so...
Just a huge rock and roll fan.
I worship rock and roll, so to do anything sideways or have anything to do with to listen to other people's opinions, or to I'll take suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's my word, it's my way or the highway. Like, I've bent so many times in my career for other things, that to do that with rock and roll and with music and something that is so personal and I love so much, it's past a love. It's my identity. It's who I am. It's the thing that keeps me sane, is writing songs and playing music. So without that, and if I bend in any sort of capacity, then I just feel like shit about myself.
Then it's not you anymore.
It's not me anymore. And then what's the point? Then I might as well go act on some television show again and play some character. So if it's not me, there is no purpose in doing it. So you can't bend, and it takes a lot of guts and a lot of balls and a lot a lot of fighting.
Fighting with who? Fighting with
everyone from the industry to
it's and we all watch it, so it's from the people closest to you. That's more of a conversation than a fight, but then it spans out to publicists or whoever.
And what are they fighting
Publicists
about?
or
Are they
stations or-
fighting to try to change you? Are they fighting to try to pull you into worlds you don't want to go in? Are there still people in your, I imagine, saying you really should start acting and doing that? It's going to help the band and that sort of thing. I would imagine
it's all of those things. So and
To
it's,
fit you in a
to
box.
fit me, and that's the thing is this band, we realize it. I mean, we don't really fit in any sort of box of the modern paradigm of music. So we make kind of strange records and we make them for ourselves. And if they connect to other people in some way, that's amazing. But we'd be making these records for ourselves even if no one else was hearing them. So we really don't think, like, when we go into write or to record, we really don't think of the outside world at all. I mean, it's strictly what can I press play on and listen to myself and be satisfied with and be happy and proud about. And if that's not the case, then what's the point?
But in today's music industry, what you just said is absolutely the only reason why you should make records, because you don't know what's going to happen. It is such a crapshoot. It is such a wild card. As somebody that's been in the business for way longer than you've been alive, I can tell you that it's so different now. And I tell artists all the time when I talk to them, and they're, well, what do you think we should do? And I tell them the same thing all the time, like, do what's in your heart and what you want to do, and let the chips fall where they may, because if you think anybody's got a crystal ball on what's going on in the business now,
it's a crapshoot anyway.
Total crapshoot. But you guys have been lucky that you've carved out, I mean, unbelievable growth with each record. As I said, I saw the band from as early as that Manson show to recent times, and I host Rocklahoma every year, so I'll see you out there in Pryor very soon.
Looking forward to it.
We've sat at festivals before and had great long talks about rock
we
and
have.
stuff. It's been awesome. But I mean, yeah, that's what I get, and that's what I think connected me first time I saw your band, is that you can tell it's coming from a real place. Like, this is really in your blood. You can tell when people are going through the motions, trying to catch a wave, trying to tailor what they're doing to fit what's happening, but you can also tell when it's really, really just deep in your soul, and you guys all have that.
Well, thank you. I mean, we try.
Thank you.
As I said, we don't fit in a box, so we're trying to create our own box.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're succeeding at that, but we're attempting it.
Well, I would say you're succeeding. I mean, you've seen growth with every record and tour, right? And better touring opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Every festival, you're
Absolutely,
higher
yeah.
up on the bill. And
But where you're in it, it never.
It doesn't feel like that when you're in it. It only feels like that when you look back on it.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing it, you're kind
We
of
look
in the
forward on it. We
Well,
have like if you looked at our touring that's coming up, like, it's Rockin' the Range with Metallica, it's shows with Soundgarden, it's Lollapalooza, it's Reading Leeds, it's Rockin' Rio. I mean, these are things that you would dream of, but they don't seem, it's different once
once it becomes your job and not just this idealistic thing that you see in your head in your bedroom. It changes your perspective.
You're really
a
trying to
little bit.
steal time to write. That's
Yeah.
how I feel our lives are.
do you guys write on the road?
We don't.
Don't. And that's the thing. It's like I feel like I blinked and I turned 23 and I started this at 14. And that is the thing that touring does.
We're busy on it.
You're busy
always
on
working.
tour. I mean, it's amazing to get to play for fans. It's amazing to get to play music and call that your job. I mean, it's mind blowing. But touring is very much a bubble. No matter how big the audience is or how small it is or whatever it is, you kind of get sucked into this world that isn't real life, and then you get off tour and you're kind of left with this hole, and you try to figure out how to fill that void that anytime. I think artists say this a lot, but anytime you
stole that from Eric Clapton.
Yeah, I've
I
stole
already
that from
know
Eric
you did.
Clapton. But anytime you accomplish some sort of big feat, whether that be a tour or writing a song or finishing a record or releasing a record or any sort of big artistic accomplishment, when you're done with that, you're left kind of empty because you put so much of all of yourself into that, and you have to then try to figure out where you are now and who you are and where to go from there.
That's where a lot of the drugs and alcohol come from.
That's why the cliche.
That's
That's where the cliche is where do you fill that hole in that void? And a lot of people fill it with drugs and alcohol, and I attempt to fill it with music. I'm not going to say I'm always successful at that, but it becomes a challenge to balance writing real life and touring and making it all kind of work cohesively. So we're trying to switch it up a little bit on this cycle and not do the grueling 2-year without never off the road 2-year touring cycle without creating anything new, because you really start to lose your mind as an artist without making something new.
Yeah, I saw when you first came in, just when we first started talking, I said, you didn't even really remember that I ran into you in the lobby here, and you guys had just come back from whatever tour you were on, and when I went up to say hi to you, you're like, "Don't come near me, I'm sick. I just came off the road. I can't even talk."
Yeah.
And then you had just been like, I could tell it was just like you were just like. Even at your age, it took its toll on you.
It's a lot of hard work. I mean, it's hard to complain about, because if you don't tour, from an outside perspective, it's the greatest job on the planet. Even
Right.
from the inside perspective, it's the greatest job on the planet. So it's hard to complain about it. But
the worldwide thing has really, and I don't know if this pertains to every band, but I know lots of bands, even the smaller bands or bigger bands, bigger than us, smaller than us, whatever it is. The worldwide thing has become much more of a market. So, like, if you like the Eagles, or I think like a lot of these bands are like that are from the 80s or 90s, whatever they are going to like South America for the first time and going to Europe. Like the Eagles, did they do their first European tour or something like that? But when they were the Eagles in the 70s, they never went to Europe, and so you're flying everywhere. The travel's become insane. So it's just this.
See, I think you're seeing a lot of bands touring and playing places in the world they would never have gone to, playing in situations they never would have played, whether they be corporate gigs, whether they be cruises, whether they be casinos, private shows. And I think that's all just a byproduct of the fact that, unfortunately, people don't buy music like they used to. So all of these guys from the 70s and 80s who are making all this money from catalog sales and whatever, all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, my royalty, whoa, what's going on? And then you realize, okay, now everybody's working America, everybody's working England. Okay, maybe it sounds good to get on a cruise ship and do so, where they always rule that out, or go to South America, or go wherever. So I think that's why the whole touring world has gotten so much bigger, truly global. As a result of that, we're talking to Taylor Momsen and Ben Phillips of the Pretty Reckless. The new album is out now. It's called Who Are You Selling For? They are leaving for their tour tonight. There's a bunch of dates. Everybody listening around the country, Canada, wherever you're listening, go to, is it theprettyreckless.com? Or
it is.
It's prettyreckless.com. Find a date near you. Where's the first show? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Boston.
In Boston. What's the venue?
I think we're doing a makeup show.
Yeah, we had to
from
I think probably the last time you saw me when I was sick. Yeah,
I think it's the Paradise.
The Paradise.
All right, cool. So if you're in Boston, you'll get the band tomorrow, and then the rest of the way, just check online to find a date coming to you. We'll also take some calls. You guys okay taking some calls from the audience?
Yeah, totally.
All right, 844-686-5863. 844-6-VOLUME is the toll-free number, and we will be with Taylor and Ben till the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll work in some of your calls again. The number 844-686-5863, 844-6-VOLUME. Coming back with more with the Pretty Reckless right after this.
This is Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
On Volume, SiriusXM 106.
Before we grab a few calls for Taylor and Ben from the Pretty Reckless, who are here in the studio with us, we're live till 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific, here on Trunk Nation, SiriusXM 106 Volume. But before we get to that, we were just talking off the air because you guys have a great appreciation of classic rock. I know, Taylor, you texted me after you heard or listened to my interview with Bob Ezrin, just because you're such a huge Pink Floyd fan.
Of course.
And the Ezrin connection to Pink Floyd.
Fantastic interview, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. It was fun to go up there and do that. But where did you get, being that you are in your early 20s still, where did this whole world of classic rock, was it your family? How did you get into it?
Yeah, it started with my dad. I mean, if you walk into my parents' house, literally my dad's section of his house, his office, is a museum of rock and roll paraphernalia.
She's being mild, so it will stop. The bus will pull up, on the road. So we've all seen, it's a museum. You go in and there's Warhol prints.
Where does he live?
In Maryland.
In Maryland. So you go, was he in a musician or in the business at all, or just a super fan?
He had bands, never professionally, but he played when he was younger. He roadied for Aerosmith for a bit. I mean, he's a huge, massive Beatles fan, massive Rolling Stones fan. I mean, I'm technically kind of named after Mick Jagger. My middle name is Mikkel. His name is Michael, but it's Taylor Mick. We have the same birthday. It's a huge Warhol print of Mick Jagger as soon as you walk into the house.
He's got a Roger McGuinn signed Rickenbacker.
Wow.
In glass cases with signed Beatles, Bob Dylan, all this stuff. It's
everything.
a huge thing. So
and a massive vinyl collection. So that's what I grew up on, was listening to his vinyl collection, and he'd make me mix cassette tapes of all his favorite things. And so that's where it started. I mean, literally the first, I'm not exaggerating when I say the first note of music I ever heard was the Beatles, because it was played as I was coming home from the hospital after being born. And so it was kind of, I couldn't get away from rock and roll even if I wanted to. Luckily I didn't. So it was ingrained in me at a very young age, and it stuck.
What was your first concert?
Technically my first concert, I always said the White Stripes because that's the one that I remember the most, but because I was a little older. But technically my first concert was Chuck Berry, because I was born in St. Louis, and my dad took me to see Chuck Berry at his bar in Blueberry Hill.
Do you remember it?
I remember it enough to remember it, but not enough to tell stories about it. I was literally probably like 4 or 5.
Right. Wow, that's amazing to be able to say, especially, of course, Chuck just died, to be able to say you saw Chuck Berry. I mean, a lot of people have been able to say it, but at your age, to be able to say you saw Chuck Berry.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
I don't think you're going to find anybody who's 24 that can say they saw Chuck Berry.
No, I was actually I was just talking to my dad. I was like, you have to find there's pictures of it. So I was like, you have to find some of these old photos of me and Chuck, because I got to see these,
Oh, you got to do a meet and greet too?
Not a meet and greet, but me, him on stage and me turned around.
Oh, I was just saying.
One of those.
I don't know if Chuck was doing paid VIP meet and greets.
No, not exactly.
I don't think he was that kind of guy.
No, it wasn't that guy. He wasn't that kind of guy.
It didn't seem like he'd roll with that too much. But although if you paid him up front in cash, maybe you'd do it.
Exactly.
So, and what about you, Ben? Like, what was your early days of music?
Just all guitar playing, but it's the Beatles too. It was the Beatles. At 5th grade, it started with the Beatles, and then when I became a freshman in high school, it was Eric Clapton, and that was kind of it till you got Soundgarden. Then songwriting took over for guitar. I was a blues guitar kid, like one of those kids. I got a deal when I was 15 with a little indie blues label, like in the Kenny Wayne Shepherd, that kind of.
Are you from New York?
I'm from Brooklyn. Yeah,
you're from Brooklyn, so
Brooklyn.
you're local.
But then my family moved to Maine, so it's Maine in New York. But yeah,
right. Let's get a few calls if you guys don't mind. People want to say hello. Pretty Reckless getting ready to go out on tour, and go to theprettyreckless.com to find a date near you. They start tomorrow night in Boston, and you'll be out there for a while, right? On this run, do you go to Europe from the U.S. dates too? I think I saw. I booked through your run.
We go to Europe in August. Is that right?
So this is festival. This is like a full tour up till June, and then it's a bunch more festivals. June, July.
This is festivals breaking off, doing headline
and opening for Soundgarden.
And which, before we go to the calls, we should get this right out of the way.
Yes,
because I know you are a psycho Soundgarden Cornell fan.
Well, that's kind of what Cato, me, and Taylor all were. We declare Soundgarden as one of the top bands. They as misunderstood as they could have been. Their music is just
their musicality
unmatched.
is so high. It boggles my mind, and I've listened to those records endlessly. So no, it's a bucket list tour for I think all of us.
Is this the first time you're playing with them?
We played with them once in Quebec City to like 90,000 people, which was amazing. But this will be the first kind of actual tour.
How many dates do you have with them?
Just a few.
Just a few, but they're on a lot of the festivals as well.
It adds up to like half the tours with Soundgarden in some way. But the question we've been wondering during all the band and stuff is what, because before every show, Taylor's cranking Loud Love or Bad Motorfinger.
Well, all my T-shirts I'm cranking Soundgarden, and all my T-shirts are Soundgarden T-shirts.
But that's her psych up music. So what's she going to do?
What am I going to do?
Soundgarden at a Soundgarden show and just apologize?
I'm so sorry. I'm playing your records real loud.
I understand how you want to keep like a professional decorum and not.
But that's her thing.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
So
right.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to apologize.
No, you gotta do it.
If you don't hear Jesus Christ post coming out of our dressing room, we're not going on.
No.
So I don't know what.
Oh my God! On the new record, has a little bit of a Soundgarden sort of vibe, right? In terms of what you're going for there.
It does.
In terms of the
we attempt.
I think I listened when I heard that for the first time. I caught a little nod to like a Jesus Christ post sort of vibe.
Sure.
And certainly your own song, but that sort of spirit to the song. When we talked about, you guys talked about how musically you're all over the map. I mean, I think that's a great example of it. You have a song like that on there, and then many different directions and styles, which is what you've always done. There's happy stuff, there's dark stuff, there's ballady stuff, there's a Stonesy thing like the first single, which was
Take Me Down,
which felt Stonesy to me. So You've got that whole. It's got to be fun to be able to work on that whole palette of music and not be put in a box.
It is. I mean, I think I've said it a billion times in interviews, but I think that that's one of the things we love about rock and roll so much is that it, to me at least, it represents freedom. I mean, you have no limitations when it comes to writing if you're making rock and roll, because rock and roll is everything. It's the blues, it's jazz, it's hip hop, it's funk, it's pop, it's country, it's all those things. So you have, as a writer, it's so liberating to be able to go in so many directions and yet still call it rock and roll.
And it wasn't intentional at all.
No,
We're just realizing we made like a classic rock record. It's like the Allman Brothers, the Beatles, Floyd, whatever it is, it's all in there. And classic rock to us now is Soundgarden and Nirvana and all those kinds of things, too, which is her other favorite palette of music. But when you look back on it, on this record,
we're just now realizing what we made.
And
it takes time to reflect on what you've done.
And speaking of Allman Brothers, Warren Haynes is on the record, right?
He is.
We got the Allman Brothers.
We got the Allman
You got
Brothers.
a brother, kind of a brother on there. Who knew Warren to reach out, or how'd you come up with that idea?
Well, we had the song Back to the River, and we all were sitting around with it going, well, this needs a really fantastic slide solo, and as good of a guitar player as Ben is.
No. Hey, the real story is we had this Southern rock tune that had 2 sections open for a solo, and I went, let's get Warren Haynes. And Taylor.
Well, hell yeah! So
helped get Warren Haynes.
So we called him up. He said, send me the song, and I'll take a listen and see what I think. And he listened to it and said, absolutely, I'd love to play on it. And,
and then he Warren Haynes
all over it and elevated it to a completely different level. That
turned
song,
it into a different song.
Different song.
It's great.
I'm still going back to thinking of you in a trailer somewhere trying to sing like Hands All Over or Jesus Christ Pose or Fell on Black Days or
Oh, I do.
And Chris Cornell outside being like, whoa.
What?
What
was it? Have you met him?
I met him. I met him twice. I met him once a long time ago at an event called Fashion Rocks.
But just handshakes.
Like a quick handshake, and then I met him at the Quebec show. Again, a quick handshake, big fan, and he was off in his barricade, but gave me a nice big smile.
That we
then we followed with his he followed his
motorcade.
Motorcade out.
His barricade. His motorcade.
Not barricade, yeah, motorcade.
Wait, he has a motorcade?
Well, it was just from a festival, so there's
to get out.
a couple cops
okay,
and a couple cars. But,
it's not like a presidential procession when he comes into the thing.
I don't know how well I want to get to know them, though. There's that thing of don't meet your idols, and if I don't have Soundgarden to listen to, I'm out. I got nothing.
I can tell you that is a valid and legit. Oh my God! Somebody get security in here. Are you kidding me? Get him out of here. We're trying to be professional. I got a real band, not this guy in here.
Oof, that was a hard
hit.
What? Who let him in the building?
Turn the corner and he's standing there.
Snake from Skid Row, ladies and gentlemen.
How are you, man?
Your voice sounds like a fart.
Yeah. Well, thank you. My lawyer will call your lawyer in a second.
Oh, and he's back.
He is back.
That's losing your fault.
That's a Jersey. That's tough.
Well, that's Jersey right there. We're from Jersey, and there he is. That's
not a love punch.
No,
that was a hate love punch.
No. That's Snake from Skid Row punch. Skid Row once did a whole home video where they went around and literally on tour took turns when no one was looking, punching each other in the balls, like for real. Oof. Like real. It's on the video. They have a video called Roadkill from like '92 or something.
I will find
They'll
it.
just be in a plane and they'll be standing there, and he'll just go up to the other guitar players and they just sit there and laugh. Yeah, they're like the human Beavis and Butthead.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. That's the guy that wrote 18 in Life, by the way, and I remember you. For real. So there you go.
Great song.
He goes around and punches people in the shoulders and balls. What is Snake doing? What was that? That was so unprofessional. Like I was ever professional in my life. So wait,
rock and roll's a professional.
I know.
Professional state.
Only in my world am I sitting here talking to the Pretty Reckless, and Snake from Skid Row comes and punches me in the arm twice.
Hard.
In the middle of the interview.
Like that thud you heard was a real thud. Like that was.
Yeah. I didn't see it coming either. I would have decked him in the mouth. Let's take a break and recover from Snake being in here, and then we'll come back and we'll take the some calls for you guys at 844-686-5863, 844-6-VOLUME. Ben and Taylor from the Pretty Reckless are here. The new album, Who You Selling For, is out there right now. Tour starts again tomorrow in Boston. for a whole run of dates, including Rocklahoma, which I'm looking forward to being out and hosting, and should be a lot of fun. Soundgarden on that one as well.
Exactly.
And we'll come back and we'll talk to you guys, and we'll finish up with the show for today. Stick around.
One nation under Trunk. This is Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
On Volume, SiriusXM 106.
Talking rock with you Monday to Friday, live here 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Trunk Nation, SiriusXM 106 Volume. Replay every night, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. If you miss any of the show, you can always get it on demand on the SiriusXM app as well. We have a few more minutes left, well, till the top of the hour. It's about 15 minutes left to go here as we continue spending some time with Taylor Momsen and Ben Phillips of the Pretty Reckless, who are getting ready to go out on tour. 844-686-5863, 844-6-VOLUME, the toll-free nationwide telephone number. Amber in Florida wanted to get on the air and say hello. Hi, Amber, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, I'm such a huge fan. I've been following you since 2010, and I'm about to see you at Welcome to Rockville for the 6th time, I believe.
Oh, amazing. Thank you.
I wanted to know if you were going to put out, like, the Latin lyrics to Hangman in Latin.
That is a good question. I'm sure at some point that will...
You promised you would. So.
I promised I would. I'm not sure when yet, but I'm good at keeping promises, so yes, at some point.
Okay. Are you two going to do meet and greet at Welcome to Rockville?
We don't know. We have no idea.
We actually don't know.
Our schedule's crazy, so we don't know. We hope so, and if we do, come.
Yeah, please come.
Those are kind of dictated to more or less by the venues, right? When you do the festivals too, you don't really know. It's up to them if they want you to do one, and with who and how. I know that can be quite a
quite
a messy thing at
the
times.
scheduling always gets a little convoluted at festivals. So many bands and times and
plus if the festival that Soundgarden's on, and I don't know if they're on that one, Taylor is going to be way too busy being fangirl.
That is true.
What happens to you if you're up there doing your show and off in the wings you look to the right and there's Chris Cornell with his arms folded watching you sing? Are you going to be able to handle that?
Well, this has happened to us before.
Oh, happened to us before.
Happened.
Well, not
with Chris Cornell, but this has happened.
But she's also a huge
Oasis fan, and we were playing with Oasis and the Foo Fighters.
And we're Foo Fighters fans.
Foo Fighters fans as well. And I turned to my left, and there's Dave Grohl, Taylor Hawkins, Liam Gallagher,
Pat Smear,
and
I think that was it.
I think that was it, and some of their friends. And
they're right there. They're right
just
there.
like right there in your face. So that was it was a moment of, oh shit, okay, and keep playing and ignore it. Luckily, I'm a little blind. Honestly, I can't really see it in my left eye very well, so I just ignored the left side of the stage and
like
kept going with the set.
Blinders on.
Yeah.
They're not there watching. They're not, because that's another thing that happens in the festival settings is you've got those big stages and you've always can look to your right and left, and there's a lot of people from other bands that wander up there to watch some of the set before they play and all that. So I know it can sometimes be a bit distracting, especially if it's somebody that you're a fan of.
Of course.
Did you ever get to see Oasis play live?
I never got to see Oasis. We did see BDI.
We played a few shows with
BDI, but you saw Oasis.
I've seen Oasis.
Wait, now what is BDI? Oh, BDI, that's Noel's? Liam's band.
Noel's is High Flying Birds. I don't know if either of them exist
BDI,
anymore.
I think I saw a live video shot of them somewhere. And I don't know, I always get them confused of the bands.
Sure.
But yeah, they were good. They were both good. From
They're all
both
slick,
good.
British, good. They're very good. They're rightfully so.
Yeah.
Are big bands.
I'm just waiting for the Oasis reunion so I can get my other dream concert.
Yeah. Oasis was big for. They were good.
Yeah, they were big for a reason.
Do you think you think there will be a reunion? You think those guys can get it together?
I think that at the end, I don't know if there'll be a reunion, but family's family at the end of the day. Yeah. They're brothers.
And they'll get a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just hold out until the money's just right.
How you guys have been together for a while, and I'm wondering, like, the dynamic within your band, it seems very family, it seems like very close-knit. but you know, Ben, and obviously everybody else in the band knows that no matter what band you're in, the attention always goes to the lead singer, especially when the lead singer in this case is Taylor. So how has everybody dealt with that? How has everybody sort of, you said, Taylor, you wanted this very much to be a band. It could have been a solo thing from the get-go, and you wanted it to be a band. But now that this is progressing it and getting bigger, and the magazine covers are coming out and everything like that, that the focus always goes to singers regardless. How has the dynamic been in the band? Is everybody kind of cool with that? Does everybody get, as much as you maybe want to present it as a band, that it's coming back around to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you already said it, that the focus tends to always go to, as great as the Edge is, everyone knows who Bono is.
Right.
So there's always the attention's going to go to the front person of the band.
U2 is probably a bad band to pick.
Well,
for that
a bad
description.
example.
Like, who's
but
the bass player for Pearl Jam would be a better thing, and they play stadiums.
Okay, there's a better example, but still, there's the attention's always going to the front person, which is understandable, and I think that everyone in this band knows that, and there hasn't really been any issues.
Including you.
We don't really think of it until we get asked about it.
Yeah. I don't think stardom is something that anyone thinks about.
Or
Everyone's
even,
trying to play.
Or even pursues. It's just we just want to play music and make it as good as we possibly can.
But all of you guys know that around you, it's. I mean, each record, it's getting bigger and bigger. Each record, you're getting out on festivals. Each record, you have more and more people excited to meet you and try to see you. Just like Amber, who just called. Can we see you? Can we meet you? I mean, I'm sure, Taylor, you from your acting days probably got a dose of that really early on. So in a way, that's probably helping you a little bit. There's probably nothing that the music industry is going to be able to throw at you that you haven't seen coming out of the acting business, I would think.
They're very different worlds, acting and music. I mean, yes, they're both entertainment, but I don't know, without getting specific, because I can't think.
Fanship.
In fanship, I think that it's certainly more rewarding to be recognized for music. If someone comes up and goes, I love your record, or I love your song, or that
it changed my life.
It changed my life, or whatever they say. If it's related to the music, that touches you on a deeper level than, hey, I loved you on this television show that you basically had nothing to do with except you showed up and read your lines.
Right.
Right. It's a much more rewarding feeling, and therefore makes it kind of less irritating, for lack of a better word. I don't know. That's probably not the right word to say.
That's a pretty bad word.
It was a pretty bad word to say. But no, it's a giant compliment, opposed to a compliment that is coming from something that's outside of yourself, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, because I don't think everybody really fully realizes that when it comes to. I mean, fans just look at something you may do on TV or something you may do in a film and think that all came from you and that's you, where it was written, as you said, for you to read or something. When you're making a record, that's really your creation. What you're singing came from you. The words you're saying came from you. Yeah. In most cases. In some instances, people have songwriters.
Yes.
And they have nothing to do with what they're doing.
Not in our case, but
not
yes.
in your case, right? What you're doing is real. But yeah, it's an overused word, but it's much more organically what you're bringing. The whole product is you. Yes. Everything that you're presenting is you from top down. So creatively, it's a very different thing, I would think.
Massively different. I mean, there's no comparison. They're completely different worlds.
Is there any side of you that misses acting?
No.
That's a quick answer. That's a quick no.
No.
No interest in ever going back to it?
It would have to be a miracle project that I couldn't say no to, but no.
Do people make you offers still?
Yes.
So it's like The Godfather 3. I'm out, and they keep trying to pull me back in.
They keep trying to pull me back in. But no,
she just keeps saying, how many number ones do I have to have before
people stop asking me about acting?
Yeah.
And what is the, I think it's really cool that in rock right now, we have a ton of female-fronted bands. I mean, there's a lot of them out there now. Even in the music business side of things, when you go out on the road, there's a lot of female tour managers. There's people working. I mean, having done this a long time, there's more than there's ever been. But for you, from the standpoint of what you do as a singer, were there people that you modeled yourself after in terms of being a female vocalist? Were there vocalists you liked that were female, or was it just it didn't matter. It was all about the stuff you liked in the classic rock world.
Yeah, it didn't really matter. I mean, obviously there's some amazing female vocalists. I mean, Janis Joplin, Sheryl Crow is amazing. Grace Slick's awesome. I mean, the list goes on and on. I was a big Garbage fan growing up. So there's a lot of female vocalists that are amazing, but in all honesty, my role models came from men. I mean, it was the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, The Who, Pink Floyd, Soundgarden, Nirvana, The Doors. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I emulated men more than I did women, even though there's a plethora of amazing female musicians.
Yeah, because I had Nancy Wilson from Heart on here not too long ago.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I was talking to her about that, and I said, when you started, she said, when we started, it's like there wasn't even, like, there was nobody. It was like we were looked at like we had three heads. Like, you're doing what? Two sisters in a rock band. It's like not even comprehensible to people. But now, and I'm sure you're conscious of this. I mean, you have an impact on female rock fans. I mean, you're an influence to them now, and it's passing right down the line. I think it's really cool. I mean, when I go to these festivals, and when I'll be at Rock Loam in a few weeks, and I'll watch you play, and I'll look out in the crowd, and I'll be like, you can see there's a bond. People don't, even though it's much more prominent, you still don't see it as much as you would, all male bands. So it's got to feel good that you're.
It does. It's cool. It's a strange feeling because I don't really look at it like that. I see it just as a good song's a good song, and if we can entertain, then we entertain. But it does exist, and when you take
I'm sure
a step,
you hear it from a lot of girls,
you do,
right?
and when you absolutely do, and when you take a step back and look at it from an outside perspective, it's very cool to realize that maybe I'm influencing girls to want to pick up a guitar or to emote in some way that can help them.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think they're telling me, I think we're getting close to having to wrap up, Alex. We got 2 minutes left to go. All right, well, let's mention one more time the album, which is out and available right now, Who You Selling For, the tour, which starts tomorrow. Go to theprettyreckless.com to find a date, and you start in Boston. I know in New Jersey, where I live, you're at the Starland Ballroom coming up soon with the headline date.
Yeah, we are.
So you've got those dates, and then of course the Pretty Reckless opening for Soundgarden.
I know. We never thought we'd see the day.
Like, you've got to get that poster for
that was
that
a good
show.
call from. It's a great poster too. And
there's one. You've got it already.
Yeah,
It's
when
awesome.
the agent called, he was super happy.
Yeah, he knew he was calling with a good one.
It's not a buy-on, right? Just because
Nope.
she wants to do it.
Nope.
No, those days are over.
Yeah, those days are over.
Did you do some of
Luckily.
that stuff back in the day?
I don't think we did, but I'm sure it happens. So
In some of your failed bands, did you do it then?
I didn't actually. I've never been a buy-on
I don't
band.
think we've ever bought on to anything.
No.
Well, now you guys are getting in the position you could be the person they're buying on too.
I think that's.
It's pretty
I
much.
think that's happened.
There's that.
Well, very cool. Well, listen, it's great to have you guys in. Safe travels on the tour. And,
Thank you so much. We're huge fans, Eddie. We're
Yeah,
all
honestly,
huge
thank
fans.
you for having us,
Thank
Eddie.
you. Appreciate it. Anytime. You guys are local, so come in anytime you want.
We'd love to.
We'll
And,
take that up on you after seeing him come in and hit you. I think that we
know.
might be able
Yeah.
to actually do that.
Somebody come in and help me out. Get a little muscle in here as well. And everybody see the band on tour. And I'll see you in lovely Pryor, Oklahoma soon. So
Awesome.
See you guys tomorrow for another Trunk Nation. Thank you.